Welcome to Single Ever After. Join me as I journey through the jungle of dating in search of my true love.
On Hinge, so I have a Hinge profile. I would say I'm not active on it, but if I get a notification that someone likes me, then I go look at it and see if I'm interested. So this person liked me on Hinge, and I looked at their profile, and they're typically not only just appearance wise, like physically, but also like the things that they filled out on their profile was pretty like bare. And they're typically like not what I go for. I actually read the profiles where people put effort in and try to fill things out. So this is already like not my usual style, but I was in this phase of like, you know what? You haven't really been connecting with people that fall within what you typically like. So maybe expand and broaden, and you never know, that person's personality might be a better fit, and things could work out. So I was like, yeah, let's give this a shot. So I reciprocated the like, and then the chat begins. And, he messages me just like a standard, like, hey, how are you doing, kind of thing. And I responded back, and, I'm good, how's your day? Simple. So he then asked if, I'd be open to doing a FaceTime. And I'm like, yeah, sure. It's funny because not too many guys have actually asked me to FaceTime. But I was like, oh, he probably, just wants to make sure I am who I'm presenting myself to be on this app. And, good for me too. I was like, worst that can happen, I end up like blocking his number if in case, I'm not feeling it. So I'm like, okay, sure. I'm down to FaceTime, whatever. So we schedule a time to FaceTime. And he calls me on FaceTime, and, we're talking. We both look like the pictures we represented ourselves as. So that's okay. And we're talking, and I feel like the conversation's okay. I feel like, okay, this guy's kind of intelligent, can hold a conversation. I think we probably were on FaceTime for a while, actually. Maybe like an hour, which I thought it was just kind of going to be like a, hey, I see you, you see me, a few minutes, and then we'll text. But we were on for like a little bit. So, okay, I think the conversation goes well. Cool. The next day, so that's day one. I think this lasted maybe a week in total. So the next day, day two, I, usual at work all day. I don't really text people too much throughout my workday while I'm working, just because, I'm working. So I don't really have time to go back and forth, trying to hold like this, conversation. So I get home, I'm still working, but I'm working from home. So it's a little bit more relaxed. So I send him a text, and I'm like, hey, how was your day? He immediately starts FaceTiming me. I'm like, okay, I sent a text, you respond with a FaceTime. Cool. I did not answer because I was not expecting a FaceTime call. And also I am still at work. So like, although I can now text more, I'm not available to video chat. So I didn't answer, and he sends me a text that was like, I guess now is not a good time. And I didn't respond. And then later on, I was like, hey, if you still want to FaceTime, I'm free. So we get to FaceTiming again. Conversation, again, it's okay. The one thing though, when he like asked me how my day was, I told him it was just a little stressful, a little hectic today. I got a lot of projects, and I'm waiting on other people for things. So that can be frustrating. Just kind of like generic kind of like work stuff, it gets crazy sometimes. So I, asked him the same question. I was like, how was your day? And his response was like, I don't remember verbatim, but I think I'm close enough with this. It was like, my day, every day for me is a great day, because I put myself in the mindset that I'm going to have a great day, and I'm not going to let anything make my day unpleasant, something like that. And I was like, okay, inspirational greeting quotes. I was just like, all right, cool. Good for you. I was like, well, mine wasn't that, it gets a little busy. Sometimes things can be a little hectic. So that was like day two. Okay. We didn't stay on very long talking wise. It probably was like 30 minutes this time instead of an hour. Okay. Day 3. He sends me a text. And he was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I responded to the text and I'm like, "I'm all right." Then he FaceTimes me after I send a response. And now I'm like, okay, is this guy gonna FaceTime me every freaking time? Like, I thought the initial FaceTime, okay, cool. But also, like, we haven't established that kind of relationship where I wanna just be hopping on a FaceTime with you every 5 minutes. Like, I'm just now getting to know you. I get, like, sometimes it's easier to talk, with the person, but like, we can schedule a date and go out and talk in person and, have these face to face conversations. So he FaceTimes me immediately after I respond, like I'm fine. And then I don't answer. So I sent him a text like, "Hey, did you like FaceTime me by accident?" Because I'm not expecting you to FaceTime me. You send me a text, I respond in a text, I think you're going to text me back. And he was like, "No, I was trying to talk to you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Give me a few minutes. I'll let you know when I'm free." So then we get on the FaceTime again, and he's like, we ended up talking about family. So I asked him like how many siblings he has and if he's close with his family and yada yada. And, he's telling me like, yeah, he's close with his family and telling me about his siblings and stuff like that. And, and I was like, okay, that's good, And then he asked me about mine. And I was like, unfortunately, I'm not very close with my family. And I know for some people that's considered a red flag. I don't know if that's a red flag for you, but it is what it is. And he was like, "Oh no, everybody goes through their things." And I'm like, "Yeah, cool." So he was like, "May I ask?" And I was like, I just came to the point where I realized that just because you're related to somebody doesn't mean you necessarily have to have them in your life when they are toxic or bring negativity into your life. The fact that we are related does not mean I need to or must have you around me if you don't, add value to my life. So I wasn't going to go into detail. I was like, that's just the realization I came to, and that's how I operate. It could be family or it could not be family, but that's just how I feel about people. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, I understand that. Everybody's got their things, So I was like, yeah, sad. Anyway, so I said that because I'm like, wow, the topic for me was like getting a little heavy. And like, remind you, this is day 3 of us talking. We never actually met each other. We've only, done the FaceTime. So I'm like, oh, like this topic is a little heavy. So I was like, sad. Anyway, trying to like lighten the mood, change directions, like kind of show that like, okay, we're ending this type of conversation. Let's move on to something else. So then he's like, "Why do you think it's sad? Like, you don't have to be sad about it." And I was like, "No, that's not what I was saying." And then he continued to talk over me. And he's like, "Well, you just said like you're sad and you don't have to be sad about it. Everybody has their things that they go through and you shouldn't affect it. You shouldn't let it affect like how you feel because it shouldn't have any kind of control over you." Like, and then he's just going on and on and on. And I'm like, all I can say is and I'm like, finally, when he stops for air, I'm like, again, I didn't say I was sad. I didn't say it was sad. I was just trying to close the chapter on that conversation and have us move on to something else because it's kind of like a heavy, very serious topic. I don't know you like that. We're just now starting to get to know each other. We actually haven't even been on a date. Like, that's all I'm trying to say. Like, moving on kind of thing, And I'm like, okay, weird. He went on this whole like tangent about how I should feel and how I shouldn't feel and how I shouldn't let things. I'm like, okay, cool. Anyway, end that conversation. I'm like, yeah, I gotta go. That's done. Then it is like the next day, same thing. He sends me a text. I respond. He FaceTimes me. I cut this one short because I'm not trying to be on FaceTime right now every minute. Like every day with you sending me a text and then you FaceTime me. Like, what are we doing? Like, you want to see me? Let's schedule time. We can go on a date and have a proper conversation and then see if like we actually really vibe. I don't want to be the person you FaceTime every damn day, and I don't actually know you. So that one was kind of pretty like, oh, how's it going? How's work? You know, da, da, da. And I was like, oh, I gotta go. So I ended that one. Then it was the weekend. I was hosting a pool party. I saw that he FaceTimed me. So this wasn't it was like the pool party was on a Saturday. I saw that he FaceTimed me. I ignored it. I never responded to call him back. I never sent him a text, nothing. Sunday, I didn't send him a text. I'm busy. Like, again, you are not necessarily a factor in my life at this moment. So I am busy. I have things to do. You live in my life, doing my weekend usuals. So then Monday rolls around and I'm at work all day, so I'm not texting anybody. Then I jump in to working from home for the rest of my afternoon. Things start to die down. I send him a text like, hey, how was your weekend? Lo and behold, he FaceTimes me. So what is this? This is like day 5, okay? So we had the first day, I thought he might have wanted to check if I was a catfish. Second day, positivity in my life every day. Nothing makes me sad. Third day, we talked about family. Fourth day, I cut that short. He weekend FaceTime me. I didn't respond, so I'm not counting that. So fifth day, now a Monday, I asked him how his weekend was. He FaceTimes me. He didn't even respond in text. He just starts FaceTiming me. He FaceTimes me and I'm like, okay, hey, how was your weekend? And he goes, did you call me over the weekend? And I was like, no. He was like, I called you though. And I was like, yeah, but I was busy. He was like, well, if you'd answered, you'd know how my weekend was. And I was like, wow, okay, super sassy. Excuse me. I'm already like turned off by this man prior to this, but now I'm like, okay, we're just adding icing on top. So then he's like, I mean, it is what it is. And I was like, okay. He actually never told me how his weekend was. He felt so in his feelings. He never actually said, by the way, my weekend was cool, or never answered that question. So then I don't know how, but he asked me, we got to the question about religion. So he asked me if I was religious or spiritual, you know, and I explained to him, like, I grew up in, you know, when I was born, it was one religion that I followed until I was like in middle school. And then as I got older, like, you know, my mom wasn't doing that anymore, but, you know, her friends would always encourage her to send myself and my oldest sister with them to whatever, you know, church or place that they went to for their worshiping. And, you know, I got to experience multiple types of religions. So I told them I don't necessarily follow the script of one, but I do believe that I am spiritual and I can understand what it is that people receive from each one and the uniqueness of each one and why people are gravitated towards each one, especially the most common and popular ones. So then, you know, I asked him and he was like, yeah, I believe in God. And I was like, okay, are you like, you know, practicing in your faith? Like, are you going to church every Sunday? Are you going to Bible study every, you know, week? Are you going to men's group? Like, I know they have all those things. And he's like, no, I don't do any of that. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, you know, are you looking for somebody that follows your same faith? Like, it's one thing to be religious or spiritual, but it's another thing if you want the person that you're dating, especially if you're trying to date with intention, do you want that person to be, you know, following the exact same faith that you follow, whether it's Baptist or Seventh-day Adventist or, you know, Catholicism or Christianity, like Muslim, whatever it is. Do you also want that person that you're with to be be a part of what you follow? So he was like, no, that I don't necessarily need that. But I definitely can't date anybody that's atheist. Like, you know, you can't not believe in anything. And I was like, okay. And then he went on to say, like, atheists, like, they don't even believe in themselves. So, like, how can I be with somebody that doesn't even believe in themselves, let alone anything else? And I was like, well, I don't know that that's what that means. Like, I don't think atheists don't believe even in themselves. I was like, you know, you have some religions where, you know, God is within you if you believe in God. So, I'm just saying, like, I don't know that you can just like lump them all like that. So then he went on to talk about, not believing in anything at all. And he mentioned a little bit about Satanists. I wasn't really paying attention. I kind of tuned out. But yeah, he just was going on about that. And then I was like, in my opinion, to be honest with you, I think, being atheist sometimes, I think for people might be a catch-all term. Like it just might be easier for somebody to tell you that they're atheist than to explain what their religious background or spiritual background is, because it might not be one of the, more mainstream or common ones that people know. So it might just be easier for them to just say, I'm atheist, and then leave it there, especially if they're just like getting to know somebody or meeting somebody that's new in their life. This is not somebody that's a part of their life where they feel like, I need to share this, in detail with you. And, I was just trying to contribute to the conversation, like my point of view on how I think some people might use the term atheist, being atheist, right? I don't think I was like doing anything other than just trying to have the conversation that we were having. And his response to me was, well, I don't know, you would have to ask them. And then he does like this little smirk, and I'm like, okay. Like, I'm not sure what you're trying to get at. Like, what? Yeah, we could say that about anything, any topic that we're talking about. I don't know. You got to ask those group of people. Like, what are you saying? So I was just like, yeah. And then he just goes on. And I just kind of like end the conversation, because now I'm realizing, okay, now it's looking like you are always preaching. You don't have a conversation. You're not talking with someone. You're talking at someone constantly. Like I'm realizing like I can barely get any words in these conversations. If I try to give, my input in the conversation, which I think is a conversation, the response that I receive is kind of like more on a like debate like level. It's like a debate between us, and I didn't know we were having a debate. I thought we were just having conversation. Like, I'm just like, at the end of that call, I was like, yeah, no, I'm done with this. Like, this is not going to work for me. So I slept on it. And then the next day, I sent him a text message. So in the text, I said, in the few conversations that we've had, I felt like I'm being lectured at rather than having a conversation with. And that does not work for me. I don't want to talk to someone who I feel like is either going to debate with me or come across as a little aggressive or dismissive of the things that I'm trying to add to the conversation. And, I wish you the best of luck. I hope you find what you're looking for. And that's it. Like, I kept it short and sweet. And after I sent it, it took me a little bit, but I was like, you know what? Let me block his number. And I blocked his number. I unmatched with him on the Hinge app, because we were still like matched on there. I unmatched with him on there because I was like, I don't even want to give him a chance to respond, because I feel like I already playing it out in my head, like from talking to him, it's exhausting. And I feel like if I give him the opportunity to respond, he's going to want proof and evidence of me showing where he did that. And I'm like, I'm not that invested in this. And again, it's only been like 5 days. I haven't actually met you. Like, I haven't actually gone on a date with you. And I feel like I probably was trying to give him more time, because I'm like, okay, sometimes people come across a little bit much, over the phone or, on a video. So maybe in person, the personality would shine through and be a little bit more my cup of tea. But then I was like, nah, not worth it. Like, completely not worth it. I talk with my friends about this, and they're like, oh, that's a mansplainer. I don't know. Maybe he is a mansplainer, but like, I do feel like there might have been times where like there was mansplaining, but I'm just like, I've never experienced a person like this before. And I appreciate that, we did, although the FaceTimes were annoying, I do appreciate that we had the FaceTimes, because it saved me the effort of like going on a date and dealing with this in person. I would be so turned off. And I am not the type of person that would sit there and suffer through a date until the end. If I'm not feeling it, it could be in the beginning, at the appetizers, the hellos, like, I'm out. Like, actually, this is not for me, and I'm leaving. But I appreciate that I didn't have to actually, get ready, go somewhere, out somewhere, drive there, and do all of this than to realize this. I'm happy it happened sooner, but I was like, yeah, no, never again. Just block on everything. No, thank you. Best of luck. We don't have to discuss it. There's nothing to discuss. I'm not that invested in you. I hope you're not that invested in me at this stage, you know? But yeah, more crazy dates to come though. More crazy dates to come for sure.